Welcome back to the Disciplined Troublemakers podcast. I'm your host, Scott Shigori. Here on DT, we talk about scaling tech companies and helping CEOs do that with greater ease and flow. Today, we're going to be talking with Lucas Wilson. Lucas is the CEO of Signpost, a role he began in February of 2024. Signpost helps SMBs in the home service space manage day-to-day communications with prospects and customers on a single platform. Signpost offers a range of integrations to create a seamless experience to help SMBs grow. Prior to Signpost, Lucas was Chief Revenue Officer at ProSites and a Senior VP at GovOS. Today, we'll be talking with Lucas about the challenges and opportunities of scaling a SaaS company in the home services space and around online reputation management. Lucas, thank you for carving out time to talk with us today, and welcome to the Disciplined Troublemakers podcast.
I've been looking forward to it and appreciate your patience and flexibility with me as we navigate the world of scaling a business.
Yeah, nope, it's true. It does require a certain measure of flexibility combined with an open-minded, positive mindset. So obviously, I've given a little bit of an intro around home services, platform, SaaS, and so forth like that. I'm sure there's a lot more going on underneath the hood. So I guess in a couple of sentences with what you'd like to add, what are you guys developing now for your ideal audience that's basically solving a key challenge with some secret sauce that you guys have?
Well, the unfortunate piece is technology is not our secret sauce, which most people tell you that's a must-have, right? And one of the challenges of scale that we've learned is listening to our customers. They value the help in handling communication, and that's it. They don't care about how fancy our communication is or how, the special. They just want us to do what we show up and say we're going to do. And what we say we're going to do is we are the forward face, predominantly, as you've said, in home services, to the business, right? So most of our customers are actually in the field performing whatever it is they were hired, the service they were hired to do. Yeah. Their customers, though, don't stop communicating. And now, more than ever, communication is challenging because, as you've said before, it's omni-channel. So it's phones, it's emails, it's text messages. It comes in through different lead aggregation services. Yeah. And most of the service providers that we help, they can't keep all that straight. So our mission at Signpost is to be really, really good at one thing, and that's helping handle customer communication for our customers, right? And not get fancy with it. So we could dive into that more, but that in a couple of sentences, we try to keep it really simple. And our special sauce is quality of service. So when we say we're going to be there, we're going to be there, and we make sure that that's the case. And we've had our challenges in that as well, right? So that also, but that is the special sauce that we work at on a daily basis, is making sure that quality of service is well above any other provider or technology that you might be able to use.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that certainly would make sense, particularly for, again, those providing services, whether it's HVAC, it's pool service, it's whatever the home service or set of them happens to be, where it is true when I think of myself on a personal level, what is the frustration point is being able to communicate seamlessly, and for that provider having a seamless platform to be able to go ahead and do that. Just for a little bit of clarification, are you guys focused predominantly or overwhelmingly in the North American market? So U.S., Canada, do you do anything in Mexico, Central America, et cetera like that? Or is it mostly here, English speaking, and that's your exclusive focus? Or is there something else there that we should know about up front?
Yeah, exclusive focus is U.S. based, right? We're very U.S. based. It's because we couldn't nail it for our U.S. based customers for quite some time. And so expansion outside of that market, we hadn't earned the right to do that. I do see us eventually. We've put some tests out for Spanish speakers. We've put tests out for different ways we can better serve. We, as a team, our motto, we have to earn the right to be able to go outside of what our core market is, and we're still daily really diving in and nailing that piece of it.
Yeah, no, it is always a reminder of just how many moving pieces there actually are. And that doing something as, in air quotes, simple as communication, which we all do in a million different ways, gets complicated very, very quickly. In terms of, I guess, what does, we're here in, recording this in March of 2025. What does for Signpost and yourself, because you're a turnaround specialist, you've been on with the company now for 13 months or so, give or take. What does scale look like to you and the team right now, with whatever timeline you want to focus on going out into the future?
It's a good question, because our scale and our focus has been on doing one thing really well. We didn't have a platform to offer when I first came on board. We developed that platform to where it's a centralized location for all the communications from a technology perspective. You can see every text message that comes in. I can see someone that came in from like an Angie lead, when they called, what we scheduled an appointment. We then text them through the autoresponders. Like, we didn't have any of those technologies. We were sending email updates to say, hey, here's the calls you had come in. Right. Yeah. So we've rapidly built a software package that says, look, it may be remedial, but at least you can, know what's going on with customer communications. The next step we did was we realize our customers value a live receptionist. They want someone to look, feel, and sound like they were sitting right there at the front desk of their office, if they have that visual office there. But what we also are aware that there needs to be an education of our customers that our AI receptionist can actually also serve a purpose as well, right? So it's never going to completely replace the live receptionist, but there are some efficiency gains, both from a cost perspective and just from an overall service and reliability perspective, that we have rolled this AI receptionist out, which we did not have before it started either, right? So when you look at scale, the rest of 25 is doing a lot of educational work with our current customer base on why they should be using in tandem the AI receptionist and a live receptionist. And you think to yourself, during the day, normal working hours, everyone expects to talk to a live receptionist. But you know what? 3 o'clock in the morning, my water heater goes out. Probably not really. I'm not that upset to talk to an AI-driven receptionist, as long as it gets me to someone who's going to come fix my water heater, right? So, But there's a lot of education we have to do to help our customers understand that they're still getting the same quality of service. But what we're doing is, humans are expensive, AI is affordable, and you're paying a lot of money to have that AI receptionist pick up, or the live receptionist pick up at 3 o'clock in the morning. We can kind of neutralize some of your cost, help it to be balanced by providing technology. And I think what you see is then in 2026, scale turns into, there are going to be those who choose only our AI product, and there are going to be those who choose a combination, and there are going to be those who say, I only want live receptionists. And I think you'll see us really grow into maybe some different markets as well, right? You'll start to see us be able to service a bilingual piece of the world. I think you'll see us branch out with what we're able, how deeply we can serve you on communication versus what we're doing today.
Yeah, no, I think, like probably a number of people here or who will listen, I've certainly been paying attention to and actually been participating in some different either online tutorials or other things around AI agents, just to be familiar with them, see what the platforms look like, et cetera, like that, because there are a number of those, some venture-backed, some bootstrapped, and to see both how they're doing things, what that is, and just kind of layer those things on. It's quite obviously a dynamic and interesting space that people are racing, racing into. I think as long as they've got the communication piece, or they know how they're going to communicate with their customers, regardless of the platform, that's always the key pieces to what they have. Just for my clarification, because I had someone on. I interviewed someone a little while ago who focuses on the Latin American market, where WhatsApp is a huge, platform there. Is it mostly phone calls for yourselves? Is it also email, and then is it any of the platforms? I don't know, Instagram to others, or is it LinkedIn, or is it really just a phone call and or an email, or is there other, depending on the submarket or whoever is calling? What does that look like for you guys today, if you will?
Yeah, so today, predominantly our customers want text message for autoresponders, and they want a live phone call, right? Like, the phone calls are what they miss, and I'll give context on why. You just take local service ads from Google. There is a literally, whether they pay or don't pay for the lead is determined on how quickly they answer a phone call, right? So then the number one piece that our customers are concerned about is answer that call. Find out if it's a good lead. If it's garbage, I don't want to pay for it. Right, so that's just kind of giving you just a bit of an analogy there. The text message part is because most of their customers would rather receive a text to take next steps than for them to have to get on the phone and talk through it. If you think, great Republic of Texas here where I live, and in the middle of August, the AC goes out at my house. I don't want to talk to you about it. I'm a busy human professionally. I want you to send me a text, and I want you to say, look, I can have XYZ service done here by XYZ agent, and does 2 o'clock work for you? Yes, it does, and boom, I'm scheduled, right? So that our customer base is like, I need to provide that for my customers. So AI is helping us both ways, because an AI-driven autoresponder can absolutely take care of that conversation, can absolutely schedule it, send an invoice, send an FAQ, like all of those things can happen through that. The great part of how, if you look, that's current today. If you look forward, the way we've built our platform is, if we branched into Latin America and WhatsApp was a push, we can integrate that into our platform easily. We've integrated, the email response or web responses to your email. We've integrated partnerships such as Thumbtack, Angie, where the lead aggregators come through. So like those are to me very, very easy pieces. It's a couple of sprints in engineering, and the integration through an API is a piece of cake. What we have to get good at is understanding what our customer wants us to do. Right? Because I would say one of the failings of Signpost over the years is we've done what we thought would be cool to innovate, and then realized that the customer never adopted it. They don't care. It doesn't matter, right? So that longer term, I see us building in other pieces, but it's going to have to be at the customer's request, right? It's going to have to be where we have an overwhelming amount of customers that say, look, I'm missing messages on WhatsApp, and we build it in.
Yeah, no, it's such a truism, even though, again, it ends up being a tale that we've all heard 1,000 times, which is, you build it and they will come, that we have some sort of intuition, and that can be enormously powerful, but usually you end up overcapitalizing your platform.
Yes.
And you usually, you end up just making mistakes that really don't need to be made. And if you just listen to what somebody wants or doesn't want, and you can chase feature sets, you can absolutely run down that rabbit hole, which is a huge mistake too. But you can also qualify those very quickly by saying, let's sign you up for that in theory, and here's what it would cost, and then see if you either get a smiley face or if you get a frowny face at that point. Yes. So you can clarify it that way. That is fair enough. I guess in terms of, how do you, as a next question for the company, what I think of as uncovering kind of the deep intel that gives you decision superiority. So we were obviously just talking about how your customers are going to share with you what it is they feel they need, they want, how quickly that needs to be, say under 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds to respond, so they don't lose that lead or lose that client in some way. What does that look like for you guys, particularly with all the changes that have come since you've arrived, and then looking at competitors and the marketplace? What is that deep intel, and how do you guys think about uncovering it or being able to discern that?
We sit in a very unique space. And one of the fundamental changes I made when I came to the organization is we ran a contact center, right? And a contact center is not a product offering. And this was the differentiator I had to throw out there. I'm like, look, this is our product. So if our product was had an uptime of 80%, we would fire the person who owned the product, because our customers would say, I can't have your app only work 80% of the time, right? So contact centers are historically run on SLAs that are good if you're, I don't want to throw names out there, right? If you're an airline, or if you're a telephone service provider, or if you're, at the end of the day, they don't care how long you sit on hold. They'll give you the message and say, you're on hold for 3.5 days, right? And we can call you back. We'll give you a call back, but we don't. And we were running our business historically based on contact center SLAs. And then we could never understand where our customers were frustrated. Well, our customers expect us to have an SLA like they do, which is, I don't miss a freaking call and I pick it up on the first ring, right? So a lot of the metrics that we are running off of, others in the industry don't use, because we measure ourselves to a contact center. We're not a contact center. We're a live receptionist, right? We're literally someone who's sitting at your virtual desk and answering the phone. So we've had to go out. I'm a big fan. I will tell you this. I love talking to everyone in the industry. I love talking to peers. I love talking to competition, because there's more than it. We all do something a little unique, and it's okay. We can all be in the same market and compete against each other. But I've tried to take a little bit from everyone. I've taking, how long it takes us to answer, how many calls we answer, like an abandon rate, the time that we spend on phone. Because remember, we're scheduling, we're the customer's face. Every single customer we have has a unique scheduling process with a unique CRM, with all these pieces to it. So then what's our wrap up time? How long does it take for us to actually take care of the customer? Are we efficient? Do we have our live receptionist agents have all the information in a very usable way to where they can best serve this customer on the other end? So it's not, when I first started, I was like, okay, we got to be faster to the phone, right? That'll solve it all. Well, then we're faster to the phone, but we're taking 4 times too long to get their customer what they need to get done. Or we don't have the answers. Our live receptionist team's like, I don't know, I can't do that. And the customer goes, well, why am I calling you? Right? So there's a quality component to it. There's a timeliness component to it. But we try to hold ourselves to an internal standard of, if we were a business, what would we expect? Right? If we were a live business, what would we expect that our team would do for our customers or prospects that were virtually visiting our business?
Yeah. I think, there's the old Steve Jobs comment that you always start with the end goal in mind and then basically work your way backwards and remove areas of friction, or at least build understanding, and then ideally go ahead and remove, wherever possible, pieces of friction. And that certainly, plays to or outlines exactly what you guys are attempting to do. And it's true, when there is a problem that I've had in my own home, even though I've, in my case, established a relationship with a particular, individual firm, I want that communication to be seamless and very, very timely. And it is true that 80% wouldn't cut it. I use the joke when someone ever says, particularly around AI right now as a conversation, well, we're 70% accurate or something like that. I'll just say, so if I was your dentist and I only hurt you 30% of the time, that would be acceptable to you? And of course, the answer is, no, you don't want to be harmed or in pain at any point, let alone you want 100% accuracy. And so it does tend to, focus attention around that sort of thing, where all of a sudden you're on the other side, and it means a great deal more than what you might think otherwise. Yeah.
I'll give you an example of this. I'm one of those humans that I'm probably a little harder to teach. I have to learn the lesson myself sometimes. And it was about 2:00 in the morning. My cell phone rang. I have adult children, so I normally do not answer a phone because they can all take care of themselves, right? But then it called me again, and I looked at the area code, and I'm like, I don't know that area code, so it's not one of my children, so I'm okay, I'll let it go. It's probably, spam. It rang again, and I'm like, man, at this time of the morning, why would my phone ring like this, right? I don't understand it. Yeah. So I answer it. It's one of our customers who happens to offer a 911 service. It's a municipality. Yep. They use us as their backup. Our person called in, nobody was answering their calls, 911 calls, right? This guy found my number through a press release, through LinkedIn, through something at 3 a.m. It was so important to him because these are 911 calls. These are not like, this isn't an HVAC repair, right? And he said it is fundamentally just unacceptable that we were not alerted that this person called in on the shift, and he was 1,000% correct. Yep. But that 3 a.m. call, it impacted me because I thought, oh no, that's why this is a big deal, right? Mm-hmm. Like this is not 85% or 70% accurate. Like that doesn't cut it. We have to be 100% at all times. And I know that seems like a pretty dramatic example, but it really was a clarifying moment for me where I was like, oh yeah, we're missing someone who urgently needs attention. Right, we can't do that. It doesn't work.
Yeah, no, it's very true. Many years ago, I worked in a network operating center, and our client was the U.S. National Weather Service, and I was one of the guys who was on call 24/7 once a week. And yeah, there would be calls where our SLA was, under 8 seconds to not just answer a call, but to refer it to, say, me. And there was an instance where they couldn't issue a particular local office couldn't issue a tornado warning. And so I needed to fix it, and I had less than 10 minutes to do that. So, yeah, all of a sudden, first responders or circumstances like this in Tornado Alley, I mean, you guys in Texas certainly have your severe weather. It brings very sharp focus very quickly as to how impactful and important that it is. It is true. It's not about, getting your pH levels correct in your pool for the kids and stuff for the weekend, which is important, but not quite that level of importance.
Not even close.
No.
It created sense of urgency on our management team, right? Because we all reference back the call. I actually made a comment the next day to our entire company and said, look, this is how important what we do is. This is why you have to bring your A game every day. And just gave the example. And I think it just helps everybody go, man, oh yeah, I did, it's not just a routine job. I've got to get this done.
Yeah, no, it does. I think it's a great story to tell, both within the team and out of it, as to the role that you play, even if much of it is quiet behind the scenes and all you ever hear about, in most cases, is when something goes wrong. But it does emphasize just the critical nature of, again, communication amongst human beings to try and solve a problem or whatever that might be anywhere, in the United States. Always a great story. In terms of, I think, pivoting ever so slightly, how do you think, or do you think that the market, maybe misunderstands you in some particular way, or is most misunderstood in terms of how, you do things? You've drawn the contrast between tech and communication and some other things, but I like asking it because it just gets to the heart of how a market, if we can aggregate it together, how it thinks, how it communicates, et cetera, and then there are individual participants. But is there anything you think, with being there for 13 months, that is misunderstood about what you guys do relative to the marketplace as a whole? I'm curious about that.
I'm going to take you down a rabbit hole, and I'm going to take full ownership and accountability as a Signpost team member. We have misled everyone because for 10 years, we've not known exactly what we do. We've done reviews. We've done email marketing. We've done a platform where you can handle social media and all that. And what we've done is we've chased really cool technology, really cool offerings. We've also chased educate them and they will use it, right? We've also chased let's do all the cool stuff for VC so they'll give us money to where we can continue to grow this business, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And if you look at our website, we're still working to clean things up. We have YouTube channel that tells you all about reviews and tells you all about all these different people. And our Contractors Corner gets a lot of visits. Like I have a little thing that goes off in Slack that shows me every person that comes to the website and visits this Contractors Corner, and it's all walks of life, and they're coming to get this information, right? So the problem is we've never chosen an identity up until about 12 months ago that said, it took me 30 days to go, we need an identity. What do we do? What are we going to do, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think it's the path that we've gone down is the consumer doesn't clearly know who we are because we've not done a good job of evangelizing it, right? And so we're also a very small team because we had to restructure Signpost and say, look, to be alive, to serve our customers, we're going to have to stop hemorrhaging cash. We're going to have to stop spending money on this big Cadillac of a team. We're going to have to really buckle down and get good at what we do. We're going to have to improve our service levels. We're going to have to retain customers better. And by the way, we're going to do it with half the resources, right? And so at the end of the day, we've done an okay job of changing the website. Like, look, here's who we are. I think a lot of it takes time. Over and over again, it takes the time of us staying. This is where I actually was given this advice when I took the role. A mentor of mine who means the world to me. He's a founder and CEO of a very, very, very good SMB-focused business that was acquired by a larger company.
Yeah.
And he said, your number one challenge is going to be staying focused. Because there are going to be so many things you want to solve, or so many things you think you should solve, or so many different you're going to want to dance and move. And the power is in staying focused on one thing. So I would push to you that the world will become more aware of who we are as we fulfill our mission and vision of staying focused singularly on being that communication technology that helps them handle. And so being known for that over and over and over again will eventually get us to where we want to go. We've just had to clean up our act, to be very candid.
Yeah, no, it's I think people underestimate just the power of one's brand voice, and that particularly as you're at its core in the communication business, getting that right for yourself, let alone getting that right for others. So, whether you choose to center yourself, even your communication, around a single metaphor, for example. So some obviously do. There's lots of ways to go ahead and handle it. But yeah, it's a surprisingly challenging thing to do, I think, particularly as obviously I focus on tech stuff and things like that, where it's the cool thing, or it's that you guys have chased that for years. When I was looking at your history, Rev, raised, before your time, a lot of money to watch that basically be put, it sounds like, a bit on fire, to then be able to get to the point where we need to make this a viable concern that's actually sustainable, that makes sense, and people understand who we are and what we do and why we should care and why they should care. So, yeah. No,
it also starts, your internal team has to understand, who are we?
Yeah.
And they have to care. Right, and so from the ivory tower of the C-suite, right? I've been a part of these C-level teams for years now, and you're always like, I don't know why the people don't have more passion for what we're doing, and I don't know why they can't be more. And so I have been that voice that said that, and then I arrogantly walk out of the room and go handle my business. And this has been humbling for me, because I look at it and I go, well, they don't care because they don't know. Correct. Right? And so at the end of the day, it is just a paycheck for right now. And so the how we have transcended that is, I've finally seen our team come around with 4 actionable core values that we make all of our decisions out of. And you're like, well, what does that have to do with your go-to-market? Well, it has everything to do with our go-to-market, right? Decisions are made on those 4 core values. And then who do we serve? Well, we serve everybody. No, we don't. Who do we serve best? Well, home service world, maybe professional services. Okay, that's great. Now, how do we hold ourselves accountable? What is best in class? What does good look like? Right? All the things that I would have said, I would just flat tell you, I arrogantly would have said, man, you should know that. Right? Like, that's just table stakes. You should know that. Well, look in the mirror, because table stakes for a CEO are, if you don't know the mission, if you can't articulate it, if you don't hold the standard, if you're not vested, how's everybody else going to be? Right? So I think those all are hand in hand with, how does the world know who you are and what you do? It starts internally too, right? Like, how does your team, how does your company know? We went from only holding internal communications when there was a layoff or a movement in the business to now doing monthly recaps of the prior month and a kickoff for the new month, to, in the month, what are our 2 levers that motivate our customers most? How are we impacting our customers the most this month? Where did we fail them? We've made the culture okay to say, hey, actually, we failed on these 2 things last month, and here's how we're going to improve them. And my balloons in the background there. Yes. I'm glad that I think Microsoft or whoever supports me there, that's fantastic. So, no, but it's just gaining clarity around the little pieces, and I'm sorry to go down that road. I'm very passionate about the internal team matching and ultimately evangelizing to your customer base.
Yeah, no, I just think they are, your comments are just a powerful reminder that the foundation are the basics. People might come to you for the trends, but they stick around for, what's foundational and what's enduring. And it is about communication. And if you don't communicate that and give people a reason to care in the first place, they're going to look at it as a simple end game as to what are their needs, what's their context, if it hasn't been shared from the top or coming up from the bottom in some way. There's lots of ways to communicate. So, I think a very meaningful summation, a reminder that, you need to do that stuff, and it doesn't just naturally happen. You've got to actually lead that stuff and provide people with a vision and a reason for actually caring, and it's surprisingly challenging to do and be consistent about it and build whether it's the leading with, core values that actually matter to the internal team, and then obviously to external customers, stakeholders, et cetera. So really, really quite powerful. Yeah. Why don't we go ahead and take a short break, and we'll be right back. Purple Finch Group helps technology CEOs innovating at the edge of chaos create operational fitness across their technology stack and team of talent. achieving significant and measurable scale, selling your story, and finding time to think and plan can feel like a bridge too far. So if you're a CEO whose company has found product market fit, but is struggling, or you're a CEO whose company is looking to accelerate existing momentum, we can help with proven blueprints for optimal scale. Shifting from incremental addition to exponential multiplication can be absolutely achieved with less effort and stress. To get in touch, I can be reached at Scott with 2 T's at purplefinchgroup.com. Now, back to the interview. We are back with Lucas from Signpost, and so to shift gears a little bit, Lucas, I like to ask, to start this segment off here, what type of work, the work that you do now, gives you the most joy and energy with Signpost?
It's twofold. I like watching us improve, and I'll give you the 2 pieces on that. I really value creating a culture where ego is not involved. I was a student athlete, and I enjoy the power behind team and everyone playing their role and everyone getting better at their role through practice and coaching. And so it's been really great for me to see the management team that we've put together from all walks of life, that all are very passionate about serving SMBs, starting out with a very raw product that had a lot of things that were broken and needed to be fixed. Yeah. And you look at each month, we solve a little better and a little better and a little better. And we start seeing we use Slack internally as a communication tool. And you start to see people brag about, hey, look, I rock this. And you're like, hey, before we didn't care anything about rocking that particular part, right? So that's and you just see people start to enjoy their role more. And I will say we take better care of our customers, which is a bragging point of mine. The number of calls that I take from escalated customers is minimal compared to what it was when I first started. That is a bragging point. But what's really fun to me is to watch people identify with, hey, this is what we do. And I'm not now just getting a paycheck. I'm a part of something bigger. That, to me, that erases a lot of the stress and a lot of the anxiety that I navigate in I take it very seriously that I have employees counting on me to make sure insurance and paycheck cash, right? So like the decisions that I make on a daily basis empower my team to be able to go home to their partners or their families or their world and say, I'm okay with my job, right? Like in the crazy economy times, whatever, my job is at least secure because I trust Luke and what he's doing. That, I am telling you right now, that keeps me up at night on a daily basis. So the wins that I take out of that are watching our team really identify with our customer base, really identify with developing and how we're providing a better level of service, and then just watching humans develop and things that I was coaching to 6 months ago, I'm not coaching to anymore because we've nailed that, right? And so those are the things that I'm like, okay, all right, we can go another month because we're making this forward progress. Aligned with that too is you start to really see people step up. Right, you start to really see people rise to the top, and you're like, man, that you should be proud of that. You're nailing it, right? And look where you've come. And I had a conversation earlier this morning before our call. Told this gentleman, like, look where you've come in 12 months. Just look at what you were doing 12 months ago, and look what you're doing today. And he's like, yeah, it's not even close to the same. I'm like, right. Like, so those are the things that I get very excited about.
Yeah, no, I think it's we're all. In one way or another, striving towards different things. And it is true that sometimes that you can be excited and curious and be leaning forward, or you can be on your back of your heels out of, fear and trepidation. An analogy I like to share with people is that sometimes when you've been climbing a mountain for a very long time and you're tired and you look up and you think, wow, the peak is that much farther away. Yes. It's really valuable just to stop for a moment, take a breath, and then just look down actually and see how far you've actually traveled, whether it's a fitness journey or maybe it's around your career, or it could be, your education. It could be a million different things. You tend not to appreciate quite until you do stop and look down how much has changed, per that conversation from this morning, over a 12-month period, how much has shifted, along multiple dimensions, which is really, really powerful, and particularly in a team as opposed to solo effort. It is, that tends to be something that everyone else feels as well. It can be quite contagious, which is helpful, and obviously makes the leadership piece for you both more exciting and also just maybe a little bit easier at the same time.
I would agree. I echo every single word you've said there.
Yeah. What are you guys, you and the team, you've highlighted parts of it here, but to kind of nail it down, what are you guys most excited about over, say, the next say, 18 to 24 months with the mandate you've got from obviously those above and things like that?
Twofold. I think we're most excited about, we've really found a niche in servicing franchise in the franchise space. There's a lot of franchises where folks, they know they've taken a sizable investment of their money and said, I'm going to invest in this because I think I can rock it in whatever space it is, right? Yep. But they don't have a lot of the operational tool sets to be able to then empower them to just focus on nailing their business, right? Yep. And so we've really come a long way in being able to help some of those franchise relationships. Yep. What I'd say I think we're all most excited about is we've been able to improve our internal technology, make it easier on our team to serve our customer. And while that doesn't seem super sexy and doesn't seem, what the reason we're excited about it is that fundamentally changes the way that we can take care of our customers, right? When you look at, we're very, very custom. We really, truly are different for every single customer we have and how we navigate their calls and schedule and et cetera. Having our technology navigating off some of the legacy software and product that we're using and craft an internal tool that allows us to provide a better quality of service more effectively and efficiently, that means we can just double down and do more for our customers. We can take on more customers. We can be proud of the service we offer instead of taking those Monday morning calls and have to not be proud of what we do. So I think that quality of service piece and empowering our internal team, investing in that team a little bit and getting that, and then the franchise world and how much traction we've seen with franchises contacting us and saying, hey, look, we can't solve this problem. We've had a few franchises that have offered their own similar product and said, we want no part of it. Like, we can't do this. Okay, we'll help you with this. We've seen a lot of that traction as we've started to earn the right to be able to ask for that.
Yeah, no, it's interesting how I don't have a lot of special knowledge in the franchising space, but some folks who I know who do have seen some really struggle just because they've been very good at one particular thing, but then have tried to layer in technologies that, in theory, from as an outsider, should look just fine to use or to even own, and then almost like AWS with Amazon, be able to then resell that and have that be something very powerful. But it's a very different skill set, and it is also a lot more challenging to execute really, really well and then transfer that from HVAC to somebody else, given that that franchise might know one particular thing really, really well, and that's the differentiator. So interesting that you mentioned franchises versus independence or some derivation thereof. I guess my final question here as we kind of wrap up is, with your journey to date as a CEO, but if we want to include your chief revenue or the C-level suite stuff that you've done, what has been, I guess, the most transformative, for you, either as a CEO or being in the C-suite?
I'm going to really tell you it's been Signpost. Signpost has helped me to understand the value of listening to the customer, right? We all say customer's always right. I get that, but what do you do with the information that comes back, right? And that's where I've always been. Yeah. I've dropped the ball 1,000 times over in implementing that. It's also taught me some humility around, you really do need a great team to win, right? So there's not a Michael Jordan every day. And I would say LeBron wouldn't be playing in his 40s if he didn't have great teams around him to where he could, have some of that hold him together. In my world, the management team I have and their ability to say, look, we're going to get better too. We're going to dive in this. And we're going to push ourselves just as hard as everyone else. I underestimated that. I underestimated the value of that. And I also underestimated the value of, hey, you got to be good at one thing, right? Just one thing. And it's been very transformative. I think any other team I would ever support, bringing that in actually would help give people a little bit of a sigh of relief. Because I think we're all very driven by, Got to do it all. Let's get it all going, right? Got to get it all. And you end up treading water and not being successful. And there's been a lot of humility. There's been a lot of humble pie. I've actually called a couple of CEOs that I reported to and apologized for being that CRO that was an absolute pain in their rear end. Called one of the founders. There's a founder that I disagreed with on a daily basis, and I called him and was like, man, I owe you an apology, because I'm just going to tell you, you don't understand the context switching. You don't understand the level of anxiety of sitting up at night and worrying about your company and your team, right? Worrying about, am I going to be able to create security for these folks? So it's just been humbling. It's been very humbling, and it's been enlightening on the fact that you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with.
Yeah, no, it's so years ago, a family member of a friend of our family talked about being number two versus being number one. This was leading a university, and that it's a very, very different role, even if you know all the same people. And again, it is very clear as to what we're doing, and et cetera, on and on and on. That it is a very, very different, not skill set, but a different, I'll call it mindset or awareness level as to what it is and who you are and how you go about sharing and communicating, quite honestly. So, yeah, it's just always a fascinating thing where it looks, from the outside, can say difference between CRO and CEO or something comparable. They are very, very different roles, even if the overlap seems quite strong. And that's true of, I think, any industry that you're in. It doesn't have to be tech. We could be selling, pizzas or something, and it would be the same thing. Well, cool. Well, it's been great to have you be as candid as you've been. I appreciate that very much. I know my audience will appreciate it as well. But the last question I always ask is, how would you like people to get in touch with you? Some are LinkedIn, some are something else, but what would work best for yourself?
I have one form of social media. I'm not a guy that can handle all the different, and my world's not interesting enough for me to post when I'm eating on all the other places, right? So I try to stay very active on LinkedIn because a lot of our customers are on LinkedIn. So it's good for them to see what we're doing, how we're moving in the business, and just how I think. So I'm very, very passionate about learning from others. So I would love any of your listeners that would like to connect with me on LinkedIn. I would value it.
Yeah, no, that sounds just fine. And I know that you have a newsletter. Remind me, I know it's about scaling. What is the title of it again?
It is Bias to Action with the number 2. So Bias to Action is the newsletter. Yes.
Gotcha. So yeah, folks, go ahead and check that out if you're interested. Well, Lucas, once again, thanks. Thank you for tuning into the Disciplined Troublemakers podcast, and we hope you found the episode valuable. If you did, please subscribe to the Disciplined Troublemakers podcast on your favorite platform and leave a review. Putting this podcast together is a group effort, so I'd like to provide a shout out to Heartcast Media and their team for all of the assistance they provide with each episode. If you want to get in touch with me directly, I can be reached at Scott with 2 T's at purplefinchgroup.com. Purple Finch Group is the sponsor of this podcast. We have another podcast episode out very shortly. Stay tuned.